Today, we are entering the magical world, the magical, frustrating, sometimes quite annoying world of Photoshop. Will Simpson here, and welcome to Exploring Photography. Have you ever wondered how to specifically select certain parts of the image and change those colors without having any interference or bleeding or anything like that? Well, today I'm going to show you how to do it in Photoshop. It's actually quite simple. So let's go ahead and get into the computer and get started. We're going to work on this image here because it gives us a lot of different places to change the color rather than globally adjusting the entire image. So the first thing you want to do is open it into Photoshop. Now you can right click on the actual file and say open in Photoshop, go into Photoshop and open the file. If you're in Lightroom and want to go straight to Photoshop, go ahead and right click on the image, scroll down to edit in, and then click edit in Adobe Photoshop 2021. I am using the completely updated version of Photoshop, so if you're not using the updated version, you might not have some of these features or they might not work as well. So since I've already opened it in Photoshop, I'm just going to tab over to it. And here is our image. Now the main tool we're gonna be using is the selective tools, the lasso tool and the quick select tool. If you haven't seen my video on the basics of selective tools in Photoshop, I suggest you go watch that. I'm not gonna go over all of the additional stuff that I went over in that video. Let's say we wanna select the subject. Now the subject is clearly my hand, the hammer, the camera, all of that. First thing we're gonna do is we're going to select the background and we're gonna make a copy of it. That way if we make any mistakes, we can always come back and we have the original starting point. So select the background and press Command J. That makes a copy of the background and gives us one to work with. So then selecting layer 1, next we're going to select the quick select tool. So we're gonna press W on the keyboard or select the quick select tool up here. Then we're gonna click up in the top middle, select subject. This is a new feature in, I think it's in 2020, I'm not sure, but I definitely know it's in 2021, that the program, Photoshop itself, selects what it thinks is the main subject. So go ahead and click that, and you'll notice that it does a really good job selecting pretty much everything here in the foreground. You'll notice that it did pick up some things that we didn't want, and it didn't pick up all of the subject here. So we're gonna go ahead and get rid of those selections. So I press Option to create a negative or an erase select, and I'm just gonna go over here, and right here, and then I'm going to use the positive selection to add this to the selection. Down here I want to get the stump, so I'm just going to go ahead and drag this over this, and there we go. We pretty much have our full selection. So we can prevent adjusting the colors of the background and the foreground. What we can do is make a copy of this selection, which will give us a layer of just the subject. However, we do need to add this nail here, so I'm just going to drag this over here, make sure that that picks that up. And once it looks good, let's go ahead and fix the hammer up here and just kind of refine your selection. Make sure you have everything you want and nothing that you don't want. Once it looks good, go ahead and press Command J again. That'll give us just the selection of our subject. And if you go ahead and turn off the other layers here on the right, you'll notice we have that selection of just that. So the first way to create separation between the background and the foreground or your subject, select your background layer and go up to Image, Adjustments, and you'll notice you have all of these adjustments here, which you can now use to affect just that background layer. So let's say we want to darken the background, really pull it away and make it disappear. Well, let's go to Curves and let's drag down the curves, and you'll notice the background darkens and the foreground stays, or our subject stays perfect. That's because we have that extra layer. Now, the one thing to remember with this, once you make these choices, once you make these selections, you can't go back. You're not adding layers, you're doing actual adjustments to that layer. So make sure that they are correct. Now you can undo them, let's say I did this and press OK. Well, that looks like crap, so I don't want to do that. You'll notice there's no layer here for me to delete, but because of where I am, press Command Z and it undoes that issue. But if you get too far ahead of yourself, you're going to lose where you were, and then you're stuck with those selections. So that is a really good way to create separation between your subject and your background. Very simple. The next thing you can do is, let's say you want to change the colors of your subject. Well, what you want to do, select the layer that has your subject, then using the quick select tool, let's say we want to adjust the color of the camera. Well, let's go ahead and paint over the camera here and get this all selected. good. I think we got the whole camera selected, but we also got all this stuff over here. So let's holding Option, paint over these parts that we don't want to get rid of that. And we just want the camera. So we're just gonna get rid of all this selection here. Now that we have it all refined and we have just the camera selected, what you can do is then go up to Image, go to Adjustments, and let's say we want to adjust the color. So let's go to Selective Color. And let's see, the primary color of the camera is a bluish black. So let's go into blues. Now you can adjust the cyan. You notice you can play with that, really dial in the colors that you want. You can adjust the magenta. And you have to play around with these to really figure out what you want to do, but this is just an easy way to adjust the colors. Now, if you want to make it super easy, let's cancel out of this one. Let's go to Adjustments, and then we'll go to Hue Saturation. Let's say we just want to make the camera green, I don't know. So we just slide the hue saturation to green, and boom, let's adjust the saturation. Let's make it super green, and then dark. That looks crap. Okay, let's make it really bright. Okay, good, there we go. So good, now we made the camera green. And you'll notice that even though I have the whole subject layer selected, it's only affecting what is inside the quick select. So if I click the preview button, this is without it, this is with it. Now, I don't think I would ever do this, but it gives you an idea that you can then adjust certain things on the image without adjusting the whole. So let's go ahead and save that, even though it looks like crap, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and adjust my fingers. So let's, with again, the subject layer selected, let's use the quick select tool and select my fingers here. We do not want the piece of glass/ice, it was actually ice. And we don't want the handle of the hammer. Good, so there we go. And let's go into hue saturation. Let's make my fingers purple. Nope, and there we go, purple. Perfect, make saturation increase and darken it down. Okay, good. That looks really good with my awesome green camera. Let's go ahead and accept those changes. And let's now change the handle of the hammer. And we gotta make sure we just get the red here. Oops, too much. Sometimes it's a little finicky. You just kind of have to work with the quick select tool until you get the selection that you want. All right, so that looks good. So let's go ahead and go into here. All right, so let's make the hammer color. I don't know, let's just play around and see what we can do. How about we do blue? Good, boom. Increase the saturation, make it super disgusting blue, and let's brighten it up. There we go, perfect. There we go. We have now made my hammer blue, my fingers purple, and the camera green. Now you would probably never ever do something like this, but it shows you that you can use this tool, the quick select tool, and adjust specific parts of each image. And this allows you to adjust skin tones, select your subject and just adjust their skin tones, and then adjust the background so there's separation, adjust different subjects from each other. You know, the sky's the limit with this tool, and simply by just using this quick select tool and then going up to image and to adjustments. Now you have tons of different options. You can adjust the brightness, the levels, the curves, the exposure. We're not getting into all of that right now, but you do have these options, so feel free to play around with them and really put them to use. The ones that I use, just so you know, the most are curves, hue saturation, selective color, and color balance. Those are the 4 that I mainly use, so maybe start with those and see what you can work out. But that is all for this video. That wraps it up. It is a quick guide to Photoshop and allows you to really pinpoint the colors that you want in your image. If this video was helpful, go ahead and give it a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. I do videos like this every Monday at 7 p.m. For those of you that are with me every week, welcome back. I should have said that in the beginning, but it's great to have you and see you guys every single week. I hope these are helpful and you're learning a lot. If you guys want to get more in depth, I do have an Exploring Photography Facebook group, which I will link in the description below. Feel free to come join. You can post your photos, ask questions, share your expertise, and more, just creating a big community. Otherwise, with that, the video is done. I will see you guys next Monday, 7 p.m.